Hi everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. So, I hope you are able to see the screen. Okay. So, as we discussed, this webinar is going to be like it will play a very important role in our career in BIM. Okay, because we need to understand exactly what BIM is. Okay, and why you're using this technology. Okay, in the construction industry. Okay. Just one moment. I think people will join in between. So if you see here, I have just prepared a PPT, okay, where we can understand like what is the topic for today. It's BIM for problem solving. Okay, it is not just for modeling. Okay, and this is like second episode of our BIM series. We know we have like career series and we have BIM series. So through these sessions, okay, our aim is to deliver the right content about BI. Okay, so definitely this today's webinar is going to help you a lot. Okay, so let's see what is the agenda for today. If we check, like we can have introduction, like what is this webinar and all. About me, I think most of you people know me, like I'm the founder of the BIM skills. Okay, and if you check, we will take some few questions and we will see what are the responses for these questions, and then we will check some case studies of the existing projects whatever we have. Okay, so our projects we can say, or we can take case studies of the businesses. Okay, what is happening, and then we will see some tools and technologies, collaboration, or some future trends. Maybe let's see, can we align our topic, okay, to this agenda. So as per the introduction, already we know this topic is BIM for like problem solving, not just for modeling, right? All right. So if we see here, you can check out this webinar is held to educate, okay, and inform the participants about the broader applications and benefits of BIM beyond its traditional use as a modeling tool in the construction and architecture. Because as we see, most of the people, okay, if we ask them, maybe they will say BIM is for 3D modeling, model based kind of things, right? So let's see few important questions here. Like for example, generally if we ask any person, okay, like about BIM, okay, I will ask these four questions. Like, where do you see yourself as a BIM professional in the construction sector? Or we can say, like, where do you see yourself as a BIM professional? Okay, BIM professional in the sense as a BIM engineer, maybe as BIM manager, BIM coordinator, BIM director. A lot of positions we have, right? So I included like overall BIM professional in which like all the positions will come. Okay. Or we can say as a BIM department, okay, where do you see yourself? Okay, what is your value in the company? Whether it's construction company or whether it's any consultant like architectural, structural, MEP, any type of like consultant we have. So where do you see yourself in that sector? Okay, and the next question is why companies should hire you, right? Because if they hire you, they are hiring some extra people, right? As a BIM department, the new department is getting added into, right, some companies. Maybe some existing people will learn this technology, like architects, they can learn the technology and they can develop themselves, right, in BIM. But there can be some extra departments for BI. Okay, so for the companies, they need to invest more things here, like more softwares, more technology. So why the companies should have more expenses on human resources as a BIM professional, and why again the companies should invest in the technologies, why there is a need. Okay, because you are like, for example, extra person for a company. Assume that you are a BIM engineer or you are a BIM manager. Okay, then why the company needs this extra person? Okay, why they have to have these expenses for their company in terms of like human resource, and what benefits you can provide to the companies and clients as a BIM professional? What benefits you can provide to the companies and client, right? Because if they are hiring you, then they are hiring you to improve their businesses, but how you can help them, right? So, and for what problems these companies are hiring you. So we need to understand this also. Okay. So let's see. I will revise again. What are the questions we have? Where do you see yourself as a BIM professional in the construction sector? That in the sense like client maybe you can because we know we can work in client companies, we can work in any architectural consultant, any engineering consultant, we can work in any contracting company, we can work in subcontractor, right? So we can work in any facility management company. So where do you see yourself, and why the company should hire you and have like more expenses? Okay, and what benefits you can provide to the companies and client, and for what problems these companies are hiring? We need to understand this. Okay, so let's see the next slide. So generally we get following response, okay, for the above questions. Like if we ask them why these companies needs you, we can maybe say to make to work in BIM model, right? To develop the BIM model. And if we see as for the first point, maybe you can say make the model accurate, economical, right? And complete project on time, okay? And coordinate with structural MEP and deliver the project on time. Generally, we have one more thing, maybe to develop just 3D model, managing client and team. We got some response. Maybe you have different responses, but these are the responses I got from the recent candidates. They said like the company's needs to solve the critical issues and find ways to grow the company. Okay, this is one of the response by one candidate. And one candidate he responded to take off material and quantities, okay, of the project or project cost, and manage the information which is associated with the building components. Okay, so generally like we are getting this kind of responses from the candidates if we ask them, okay, why companies should hire you, and why companies should hire you and have like more expenses. Okay, what are the problems of the companies? So we are getting these responses. Okay, so maybe you have your own opinions, we can collect them later during question and answer sessions. We have this just 1 hour webinar. Okay, now let's see what are the case studies. Okay, or we can take case studies of some existing businesses where, for example, they got failed maybe. Okay, so if I take the case studies of the business, because see, whatever the companies you're working in, for example, you're working for a real estate company, you're working for any uh, architectural consultant, any engineering consultant, any contractor, subcontractor, everybody, like every companies have their own business, right? So like why we are using BIM in these companies? Okay, so let's take example of two business here. Okay, so we will see like why they failed and what led them to fail or fall behind in the market. Okay, so there is one example like Kodak. Okay, and other example is Nokia. Because whatever the companies we have, whether architectural firm or any engineering consultant, any contractor, any real estate company, any investor company, okay, they are like businesses only, right? So, and we know whatever the businesses now are there in the market, they are not operating like previous one, right? Previous years. So let's see why like Kodak got failed. Okay, if we see, Kodak was the first company who like invented camera. Okay, as the founder of Kodak. And if we see like previously, Kodak, if as per the case studies, if we see, Kodak was the company who produces this. reels and like papers for the printing. If you see, they had this kind of like papers to print the photos and all. If you see this one 3D sheets they have, and they were having these reels. I think maybe most of you remember this, right? So you have experienced these things previously, right? So camera was not common at the time, like maybe 15 years back or 20 years back. Okay. So if we see, the Kodak company was relied on, okay, on the margins of these reels and these sheets here. So they were selling the camera for very less margin. Okay. But if we see the reels and if we see the sheets, they were relied on this. So based on reels and based on sheets, they expanded their market. Okay. They did not depend upon that much upon, camera. Okay. So what happened, the era of digital, camera came, okay, where there was no need of reel, okay, and there was no need for the sheets, okay, because we got the photo digital. So Kodak was the only like first company. They only like developed this, invented this digital camera. Okay, if we see here, okay, so if we check, maybe first digital camera was invented by Kodak itself, but they did not use this one. Okay, if we check the Kodak, okay, they relied upon a reel and the sheets, whatever they had, printed. So they thought like people, when they take the photo, when they print the photo, they will feel differently, okay, compared to the photo they are getting like digitally. They thought like, no, we are like first, company who develop the camera. People will be there with us, okay, and the people will take only the printed kind of photos. They will not have it, they will not believe, or they will not be happy that much with digital kind of like photos. So what happened slowly, okay, like other companies, they took the advantage and they went to this digital camera, but Kodak was there into that reel and the papers sheets. So slowly what happened, the other companies, they use the technology, okay, and they move ahead compared to the Kodak. So if we see what lessons we can take here, Kodak was the first company who like developed or invented this digital camera, but they fall behind, okay, and the companies who took advantage of this technology, they are like ahead in the market. In the same way, these stories are like, these case studies are very common for us. We are taking the help of these case studies to analyze like how businesses can operate. If you see, Nokia was the company where everybody, like I think before 15 years or 10 years, everybody was having Nokia phones only. Okay. So if we see, like, previously they had this type of phone, then they later like they released their own kind of like, software, right? So if we see here, so then they released this touch screen kind of like phones when Apple also came into the market. Okay, so they like produce this screen like kind of the touch screen kind of like phone. Everybody was, using those kind of like phones. We know about these things, right? These phones were like very famous at the time. But later what happened, Android market came. Okay, so other companies, they again took the advantage of technology, because, okay, if we compare, the Nokia went later, like Nokia went previously, they said our own, operating system is better. Okay, but later they switched to the Microsoft. Okay, but compared to Microsoft, Android was having better applications and, more applications compared to the Microsoft. Okay, so eventually what happened, the Nokia, their sales got reduced, and the other like companies, okay, they caught the market. Okay, they had the other companies had the more share on mobile phones compared to Nokia. So these are like two case studies we can have, like how the companies are taking advantage of the technologies, and they are just, moving ahead and having better growth compared to the companies who are like having, their own things. They are not ready to like adopt the technologies, and they are thinking that nothing will happen to us, right? If we don't adopt the technology, our own systems are great. We have the particular kind of like clients, so nobody will, go from our database to maybe to other companies here. They are thinking in this way. But what is happening? Slowly, the trend is changing, and the people or the customers, they are going from one company to the other company. Ultimately, these companies are losing their own customers. Okay, because they are thinking whatever the contents we have right now, whatever the systems we have right now, our clients are with us. Okay, and we are working for them. But the other companies are coming up, maybe the newly established type of companies, they are taking the advantage of technology, and they are going like, they are moving faster, they are having better profits in terms of like businesses, they are growing more when compared to this, old type of companies. Okay, so we got to learn from here just one thing: what the technology, if the companies take the advantage of technology, they can grow like better when compared to the companies who are not, you know, adopting these technological methods. Okay, this is important for us. So if we see, companies are taking advantage of the latest technologies to improve the businesses. Nowadays, we know more of the companies, they're using AI, they're using machine learning, okay, to improve their businesses again. Okay, so let's see what is happening in our sector. Like we are from construction sector, we can say in terms of like architecture, in terms of like contracting, in terms of any real estate, in terms of any subcontractor, any facility management type of companies. Let's see what is happening in the construction sector. So if we see here, let's take some examples of the project fails. Okay, like you can see here,
कहाँ
you
पे है बट वो
can
मॉल
maybe mute. Sorry,
क्या चीज है
one moment. Please. Okay. So if we see here, we can take some examples of the project fails. What is happening here? You can check out. Maybe because of less coordination or because of the poor visualization. Okay, the staircase got into something else. Okay, so maybe it should go above and then again. So what is happening? There is a problem. If we see here, because of low coordination, maybe we can take these examples, but we can assume that if this, for example, it is not real, or maybe it is real, so we can take these as example to understand, okay, what is happening in the project. Okay, when the projects are getting failed. Okay, so we can take some more examples here. If we check, there is one fish building, fish type of shape it is. Okay, I think most of you people may be aware of it. So if we see here, like how the image was there in render, okay, and how exactly it is built on site. You can see what was the design in the render image and how it is built on reality. Okay, so like that, we have many more examples. I will take one more example here, or else I think you got like what we are talking about. What is happening in the render image? It is something else. On site, it is getting built something else. So now what will be impacts of these things on the businesses? Simply, maybe we are just taking the example. That is okay, right? We are taking example like in render image, it is something else. On site, it is something else. It's okay, but maybe it is not okay, right? Because what happens, like if the contractor or if the consultant, they are not able to coordinate and collaborate properly, and they want to give the, okay, or fulfill the vision of the client. Okay, what happens later? Maybe this client is any investing company. Okay, so they like thought like we will have, one a great iconic kind of building in the city. Okay, where we want to invest and we want to have, lot of business from this building. Okay, and we can take the investment from this building, and we can have, that investment to again to the next kind of like projects. So they maybe think in this way. But what happened exactly here, the contractor and the consultant, they are not able to maybe deliver exactly like a render image, okay, on site. So what happens because of this? Now, how many businesses will get impacted? Okay, uh, or like the type of companies or the business impacts on the type of companies because of these kind of like project fails. Okay, in terms of I mean like construction. So what happens? The real estate company, maybe they will lose the customers. I will show you one more image here so that you can understand. Just one moment. I'll share my screen. Okay, one moment. Okay. So if you see this image, you can check out what happened. Okay. I think one moment. You people are going. Okay. If you check here on the left side, maybe there is a render image. Okay. On the right side, we can take example. Maybe these two are like different projects. Okay. So this maybe company they try to like copy this, type of design, but exactly we don't know because I saw like this type of design completed. It is built on site. It is correct. But we can take example of this. What is happening in the image and what is happening on site. So maybe this project is completely of any residential flats. Okay. So what this real estate company, they, for example, they had a plan to, have some investment. Okay. And they thought like, let's build one new project in the particular good location. Okay. And they went to any architectural consultant. Okay. Or any complete engineering consultant where they have like departments of architecture, structure, MEP completely, and they finalize the design here in the render image. Okay, but on site it got delivered because of the budget constraints, because of the unimaginable type of like investments. Okay, so they thought maybe this project will cost something else, but on site it is happening something else because of the lot of mistakes and all. So ultimately, they showed this image to the customers to sell the like flats or apartments. Okay, this image they showed to sell the flats, but on site they like delivered something else. So what happens because of this? For example, if I want to, as a customer, I want to buy a flat, okay, from this real estate company. I will think the real estate company they'll be going to deliver me something like this, right? But on site, if they deliver something else, what happens? Okay, ultimately, after like construction, maybe I will take my whatever the pre-order I have given, I will take that, and maybe I was about to invest here, but I will not do that one. Right? It happens. So ultimately, what the real estate company they had to do? They will maybe sell these flats for less prices, okay, or less margins. So ultimately, it will be a problem for what? So because of these kind of projects, what is happening? Maybe there is a less coordination between the architects, okay, and the contractors, okay, or maybe the improper like planning of the projects from the client side, that is a real estate company. So because of which, what is happening? Ultimately, there will be a problem for all of the type of companies. So we can think maybe there is a problem only for the real estate company, but it will not be like that, right? So it will be a problem for all the type of companies. So ultimately, like real estate companies will lose the business, okay, because of which the architectural companies will lose the business, the contractor companies, the facility management companies, subcontractors, supplier companies, and other companies also. Okay, so because of one, project, okay, fail, all the companies are suffering, right? So it's a problem, right? So if let's see in terms of like business, okay, what all of these companies will face. If you check here, real estate companies will be having maybe financial loss, reputation damage, loss of investor confidence because maybe they will take investment from a lot of other companies, maybe, okay, and delayed revenue generation. Maybe they will wait for the customers to come and buy the flats and all. So maybe it will be a problem and reduced market competitiveness. Okay, if we see in terms of like architectural firm, they will also there will be also again problem in reputation for the architectural firm and loss of further clients and impact on future projects and difficulty in attracting the talents because if the name is not there in the market, okay, of any like company, so maybe the good talented people will not join that company, right? Because already this company name is got damaged. So again, to rebuild the trust with the client, it will be a problem. These things are like very common in between all of these type of companies. If we check the contracting company, what happens to them because of these failed kind of like projects? Loss of subcontractor and supplier relation. Okay, so maybe there is a main contracting company in which all the other subcontracting companies are there and the suppliers are there. So they will the relation will be lost. Okay, and market penetration challenges, difficulty again in rebuilding the trust, delayed revenue generation, and again impact on growth. So these challenges are like common in terms of like all the businesses. So for maintenance company, difficulty in securing future contracts, reputation damage, global expansion maybe, delayed revenue generation, and again reduced market competitiveness. So most of the problems are common in between all the type of companies. But ultimately, what happens because of these failed projects, because of these type of activities on site, okay, what happens? Ultimately, these companies will lose the business. Okay, so let's see what problems cause the project to fail. Okay, we need to understand these things. So maybe poor planning, inadequate risk management, design errors and changes, unforeseen site conditions. Sometimes we will not see the site conditions properly, especially when we are, for example, going for any renovation kind of project, or maybe if you are going for any interior design kind of like kind of project when we have the existing building. Okay, so regularity like and permitting issues, communication problems, inaccurate cost estimation, inadequate like safety protocols, owner changes and indecision. A lot of changes will be there by the owner or by the client or by the architect, so because of which maybe we'll not be able to have like proper decision on the activities. Okay, if we check here, then failure to monitor and control the progress, poorly manage or planned site logistics. So we don't have proper like site logistics on site, we don't have like proper planning for that one. Construction conflicts, okay, maybe we have a lot of like clashes on site between different disciplines, inadequate site assessment, okay, ineffective collaboration, design flaws, asset tracking, okay, poor space management and poor asset lifecycle management and poor asset tracking. So because of which what happens ultimately, whatever the like benefits the every company want to get from at least like one project, they will fail. And what are the like problems which cause the failing? These are the things. Okay, now ultimately, like how we can solve these problems, we have a lot of problems. So from lot of like previous years, for example, we are trying to solve the problems using the technologies. Okay, every time any new technology comes into market, we are trying to adopt that. Okay, and we are trying to solve that thing. Okay, solve those problems. Let's see whatever the problems we had in these overall projects. Okay, let's see like how we were solving these problems, how we are solving the problems in current scenario, and how we can solve the problems. Okay, ultimately it is all about solving the problems. If we solve these problems, what happens? Each and every type of company will have the good reputation, good growth, right? So this is the advantage. So let's see how like we were solving the problems in 1950s, how we are solving okay currently, and how we can solve the problems. Okay, if we check previously during 1950, we used to do a lot of like manual work. Okay, if we check like how any construction project will start from any architectural company or general, like how we do the different kind of like problems, how we solve. So if we check the drawing production, we used to do like hand drafting. Okay, and for to visualize any project, we used to have any wooden models, any cardboard models. Okay, for site visits, we used to have like transportation. So at that time in 1950s, there was maybe a lot of problem for the transportation to go to site and visit and inspect the sites, right? And for communication, we used to have letters, we used to have telephone services. Again, it was a lot of difficult for us. And if we check at the time, maybe we used to have some hand sketches also. And for the structural designing and all, or MEP design, or maybe structural, we can say not MEP mostly, but we can say it is like mostly hand calculations or manual calculations we have. Okay. So this was the thing. So can we solve the today's construction problems, whatever the problems we discussed here, can we completely solve these problems using the method of 1950s? Okay, maybe most of you will say like it is not possible because to draft the drawings and all, it will take a lot of time. Okay, and the space consuming, it is also it's large. If we see in terms of like model making, it is also nowadays it is difficult. Transportation, we cannot use the transportation method of at that time to now, right? We cannot use telephone now to solve the problems. Okay, we cannot use manual calculations okay in today's market to solve this problem. That means whatever the problems we have in the current market, because we know a lot of companies, they use the technology to solve the problems. Okay, and whatever the problems we have in the current market, we cannot solve these problems using the technologies of 20 years back or 30 years back. We need to use the technologies of the current market. Okay, so whatever the method we were having to do any project, that method we cannot use in the current market. That is why we see in most of the companies they will not do hand drafting. Maybe in colleges, some of the colleges we studied, but if we see they are not making much, maybe this physical models. Okay, and there are no companies using this telephone type of services, and no companies, maybe like maybe few companies are doing, but most of them they are not doing any, unless and until any cross check, they're not doing any right manual calculations here. So that means we cannot solve all of these problems to improve the businesses of real estate company, consultants, contractors, subcontractors, or any client or anything. We cannot solve this problem using the method of 1950s. Okay, if we check the method, maybe working method in 2000. So what happened? Computers came. So slowly we started using the computers. So if we see, we started maybe doing some drafting kind of things in the computers. Okay, but again, what kind of methodology we had in the CAD system? Okay, so if we see any structural, maybe they also started using the computers. If we see any, for example, architects, they also started using the computer. Any contractor, they also started using the computer. So ultimately, it was computer aided design and drafting kind of things we had. Okay, and if we check, we had like drafting, like still most of the companies, okay, they use these kind of like procedures. So they have like 2D drawings as a separate, right? They have plans, elevations, sections, and other details in AutoCAD file format. And for 3D modeling, they do maybe using some other CAD 3D softwares, not like particular, but they can use any CAD software. They're using computer to do the design, but in they have this completely a 3D model to do the rendering. So this is a separate model we have, and this method is again separate. Both the files are not linked. Again, lot of like maybe in 2000s, maybe they had some manual calculations. Okay, but again now if you see, but it's not. Maybe we are using the software based kind of things again. In 2000s, if we check how we used to do the communication, we used to do the communication using emails. Okay, and again maybe we can have some hand sketches, and maybe we do some manual takeoffs in the Excel sheets for the quantities and other kind of things. Again, we need to look out here. Can we solve today's construction challenges using the methods of 2000s? Is it possible or is it okay? And okay, so we need to check out these things here. Let's see, can we solve the current business problems? Business in the sense, as we discussed, contracting, architectural, okay, subcontracting, other like real estate kind of businesses. Can we solve current businesses problem using previous technology and stay ahead in the market? Okay, that is not possible, right? Because if some companies are using advanced type of technologies, and whatever the task, okay, the some one type of company they are able to do in like 1 week, other type of companies they'll be able to do in just 1 day. So definitely who will get the more projects? Definitely the companies who are using the technologies to stay ahead in the market and solve the problems, right? Let's see, we can take an example here. Most of you people are aware about the mobiles. Like if we check in the Samsung series, okay, so first it was in Galaxy S series. If we check, so in 2008, 2010, 12, I guess we had this Samsung Galaxy S mobile, right? In 2011, maybe Samsung they released Galaxy S2. So S2 was more better than S, right? So most of us like we can agree on this. And if we check like S3, S3 was more better when compared to S and S2 again. So then we got like S4, S5. So we have like S20 in 2020, maybe we have S21, 22, 23, whatever it is. But if I ask you people, like which mobile will help us, okay, which mobile will give us benefit in today's market in terms of like if you want to use for the business, right? Definitely you will say that Galaxy S will not be, helpful for us. Definitely the latest type of like, technological based kind of phone will be helpful for us to improve our businesses. Okay, so this is the answer. So that means we cannot use the mobile phones of, and most of you people will also will not use the mobile phones of the previous years. Okay, you will also, for example, try to use the mobile phones which are there with the current technology, right? So otherwise what happens, we will not be able to connect. If I use this mobile phone and I want to handle a lot of data in my mobile about related to my company, about related to trainings, about related to projects and all, it will not be possible with the help of this mobile, right? So definitely I need to use the latest mobile, okay, to solve the problems of my company. So if businesses like real estate, architectural firms, contractors, etc., don't start utilizing technology, they will fall behind in the market. Okay, and projects will undoubtedly will go to the businesses that are utilizing technologies to address the issues of the maybe other companies or the customers. Okay, we need to remember this one. So let's see what is BIM actually. Okay, so which technology will help to solve the above problems in a better way. See, we cannot say that this manual method is not helping us to solve the problems. Okay, again, see, you can mute here. Just 1 minute. Okay, so if we see here, we cannot say that this manual method is not solving the problem. This manual method is helping us to solve the problem, but up to some extent. Okay, and if we see the next kind of like technology, that is CAD. Okay, so it is also helping the problems, but again up to a certain extent. We are not able to maybe solve the overall issues of the current market, okay, using the previous methodologies. So we need to check here then which technology will help us to solve this problem we discussed. Okay, the answer is B. So here you need to understand your value. Like as a BIM professional, what is your value in the current market? Okay. And why you're important to any like type of company, whether like consultant, contractor, any real estate, or any like subcontractor, any other type of company. Why you are important, okay? As per your position, what is your importance to these companies? So we can just understand with the help of this image. So you are like a BIM professional. For example, assume that this is consultant company, like any engineering or architectural consultant company, and this, for example, is any contracting company. Okay, and you are like BIM professional. Now you can see what is your importance. If you are not there, you can see what they are doing. They are able to take this card, from one location to other location. That is possible. But what happens? Maybe it will take a lot of time. It will take a lot of energy unnecessarily. So, for example, they had to move this type of like 100 cards from one location to other location. Okay, maybe assume that in this way, if they're not using this round type of like wheel, okay, if they're using this square shape, it will take maybe, for example, 100 days, we can say. But if they use this round kind of like, wheel instead of this one, first thing is they will not be having any trouble. Okay, the energy will get saved, and whatever the time they are saving, they can again invest that time. Okay, instead of moving 100 cards, they can move 200 cards, okay, in those 100 days only. That means what happens, if the companies like consultants and contractors, if they start utilizing BIM, okay, they can, instead of doing 10 projects, they can do 20 projects in a year. Okay, if they improve this BIM implementation, instead of 20 again, they'll be able to like hand over 30 projects per year maybe. And they can finish the projects as fast as possible and stay ahead in the market. Okay, now you can see what is the importance of BIM. Because generally what we got the answer and what we get the answers normally is BIM for the 3D modeling. We are just, taking one laptop, we are just sitting in front of the screen and we are just developing a 3D model, right? So just to see the textures, to see the design and all. But ultimately, how the BIM is helping and what is your importance, you can check out. If you're not there, what is your importance? If you're there, and how you can help these companies to, go smoothly and develop their businesses. Okay, so let's see using BIM, like what problems we can solve, and like whatever the problems we have, what we can solve using BIM. See, we can develop collaborative environment using BIM. Okay, we can do model based energy analysis. We can do model based facility management. We can do many design iterations, like many changes in the design, okay, without any like much effort. We can implement BIM standards to like have smoother like finishing of the projects. We can do 3D modeling. We can do clash detection as early as possible, like before we start, doing the construction. We can do better visualization. We can do data integration to other like methods here, like facility management and all. We can do 4D and 5D parametric design, model based takeoff. We can do augmented reality, virtual reality. We can have mobile access. That means we can have access to project maybe data, all right, anytime. Like if we have the mobile, easily through the mobile also we can have the access to our model. Okay, and we can do further renovations, and we have many more, advantages of BIM. I'm not going to explain maybe in detail, okay, but with the help of these points you can do some research and you can understand. But through this webinar I want to explain you like how BIM is important for any organization to develop their businesses. Now you can see using BIM we can develop like better environment. So if I ask you people like why it happened, for example in this image, what happened, in the design, and why it got, executed on site something else. If I ask you people again why it happened on site, this staircase, okay, in the maybe design it was something else, on site it is something else. Why it happened unnecessarily? For example, we had the balcony, except if we have this one for the aesthetic purpose it is okay, but as per the functional wise maybe we should not have this one. So why this happened? Because of the, we can have one answer here, that is low collaboration or coordination between the architectural companies and the contracting companies. Now you can see ultimately what happens. Every company will be having problem. We know this one: real estate, architectural contractor, subcontractor, supplier. Everybody will be having like problem in their businesses. So now, as a BIM professional, okay, you came into picture. Okay, like you are here as a BIM professional to give them this technology. But ultimately, what you should do is, your importance is how you will solve the problem of this coordination and collaboration, right? The problem is what? The coordination and collaboration, or low coordination and collaboration between the companies. But as a BIM professional, how you can solve this problem? That is important for us. Okay. How you can, for example, we got this type of unnecessary things. So how you can solve these things? Okay. So whatever the problems we have, like poor planning, so how you can solve this one? Risk management, and how you can assist, or as a BIM professional, how you can assist, okay, them to like solve these problems. For example, any design errors and changes. So ultimately, by implementing BIM, okay. So through this webinar, we want to discuss like how BIM professionals are important for any type of like company in the construction sector. Okay. So if we see here, in the end, BIM is the answer to all of these problems, and BIM professionals are the unsung heroes who can assist businesses in enhancing their operations in a more better way. Okay. So you should know the worth of being a BIM professional, okay, who will change the whole company's nature. Okay. So at the end, I suggest to develop your skills to solve the problems through the BIM, right? Not to just, to develop a 3D model, like how, like it is looking in look wise, okay, how it is, or what type of textures we have, what are the colors, design wise, how the model it is. So I think, because if we see more details in the project, we will be happy. But it should not be like that. Details are okay, but ultimately, you are the person who will solve the problems of the company. So maybe if we go as a lower profile, as a BIM engineer, BIM modeler, okay, maybe it will be difficult for you to get that opportunity to solve the problem. But if you start like solving the problems of these companies, ultimately, you'll be having a good position and good growth in your career. So we should make our mindset in a such a way that I am learning BIM not to do the design, not to, because only for the BIM professional I'm talking about in general. So as a BIM professional, I am learning BIM to solve the problems of the companies, okay, by implementing technologies, okay, and not to just do a 3D model, okay. So ultimately, whatever the common type of technologies we have in the market, we are using through BIM, like cloud technology, we are taking that through the BIM. Okay, if we have any AR, VR type of technology like augmented reality, virtual reality, these are common in between all of the businesses. See, cloud is not only related to like BIM, it is common for all the businesses. If we see the augmented reality, virtual reality, it is also common for all the type of businesses. Okay. And if we check some other type of technologies we have, like 3D printing or some other, all of these things are what? These are like common for all the businesses. So whatever the technologies are coming up, so how we can use those technologies through BIM, okay, and we can solve the problems. Okay. So I guess today's webinar help you to analyze like how important you are, and how ultimately you can improve the businesses. Okay. Because what we do when we join the companies, some problems is we are not knowing the purposes of the BIM is getting implemented in the type of company we are working. Okay. Simply we go, we do some work and we come back. Okay. We are not having any, keen to understand why these companies are using BIM. Okay. If we don't know the purpose, ultimately you'll not be able to develop yourself as a good BIM professional and good BIM manager, okay, and ultimately help these companies. Okay, so I think uh, we understood like whatever things we have. So at the end, we have few minutes. So if you have any questions, we can discuss.
So,
Yes.
hi, sir.
Yeah.
Like, I have like one question for you, sir. Like, after
Yeah.
like we do the BIM modeling,
Mhm.
what the benefit we can extract from the BIM model? Like, I know how to model it like according to the
Mhm.
LOD,
Okay.
but I still can't get that
Mhm.
like on which basis the LOD will decide, and
Mhm.
what are the benefits of deciding the LOD for a particular component or whatever the component is.
Mhm.
On which scenario they decide uh, LOD for a specific component.
Mhm. Okay. See, why we need to decide LOD for any specific, type of components we have. So as we discussed, like we are using BIM as a technology, okay, plus the process to implement, okay, in the project, right? So if we see here, LOD we are defining to develop the geometry in terms of geometry and in terms of information. Okay. So how we can like how much geometry to be added and how much information to be added. That is important. Because see, as a business, for example, you are having one company. Assume that you are like into any architectural type of company and you need to develop a 3D model, right? So we cannot simply like develop any kind of 3D model. We need to have particular definition or meaning of that 3D model. Whatever the door, for example, you are developing, that should have a meaning. Whatever the furniture you are developing in terms of 3D, in terms of information, it should also have some meaning. Okay, that meaning is LOD. For example, if we check LOD 300, the meaning is final design. So if you are there as a BIM professional in the architectural company, you will develop LOD 300, which is a final design mode. Okay, that means if LOD 300 means it's a final design, so that design can be handed over to the contractor. Okay, if you don't know LOD, then you will not be able to finalize the design. And for whatever the element we have, you will not be able to decide how much geometry you need to add and how much information you need to add. Those things you need to take the information from the companies. For example, if you are working for any real estate company, you need to take the information or requirement from the real estate company and you need to fulfill in your model, because ultimately model is the only option we have in which you know we decide for overall stages. That means the model will help for overall stages of the project from concept to till demolition. So later on, whatever the model you develop, this model will be used by the facility management companies to do better facility management, to do better maintenance. If you don't develop a proper LOD, then how can they use the model, right? Is it okay? Yes, maybe. So any other questions related to the topic?
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Uh, my question is, sir, we have a BIM engineer in office as well who coordinate on the basis of Revit and other AutoCAD and other softwares. So they collaborate and work on that and prepare the 3D model and the classification, etc. but
Mhm.
we can have in site also as well. Like now the companies also opt for the BIM engineer who works on site, and
Mhm.
they execute their class detection. So there any need in future of the BIM engineer on site as well? So we can look that career as well for means working in office and also working on site as a BIM engineer.
Yes, see, on-site means you are working for a contracting company, okay, or maybe to
Ah,
coordinate with the people in your company, like who will be there on site and who will coordinate with the person who is there in your company again, or maybe they will work with the contractor. Okay,
okay.
on site means they will be there in the office only, but in the construction site. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes. So, like if you have any queries related to the topics whatever we discussed, like you want to know as a BIM professional, like how you can grow or how you can help the companies to solve the problems. If you want to know in terms of this, you can have questions. Okay. So no worries. I guess I hope you understood because why the purpose at last I will say and we'll close because we need to understand our value in the companies. If we don't know our value and we are not able to implement BIM in a proper way in the companies. Okay, what is happening because we are doing the trainings, we are learning a lot of things, but what we are doing, we are going to the companies and ultimately we are asking to the companies to teach us and guide us about BIM. Okay, still maybe the companies they also started implementing BIM, new, and they hired you to implement BIM in their company. But what you are doing, maybe it takes experience, that is okay, but the intention or the mindset whatever we have, it is totally not correct, right? Because we are doing the courses and the companies are hiring you. Why? Because they are thinking like the BIM and you will come and you will change our company's environment or the company's culture or nature of working by implementing technology. You will help us to improve the business, but ultimately what you're doing is you're joining the company and you're getting dependent upon the company to teach the BIM. Okay, so we should change this mindset. You should think like I am the game changer, okay, and I'm joining the company to change the overall nature and improve their business. Okay, I so if you help the companies, definitely, why not? The companies will help you to build your career also. Okay, so ultimately, thank you for joining. Even though it was Sunday, you took just 1 hour, from your busy schedules to learn something about BIM. So this is what we are trying to do. In future, we'll be having more webinars